we're cooking with cake today. With holiday parties taking up the weekends, it's sometimes easy to grab a meat and cheese tray and just go.
Yeah, but they're not hard to make on your own, actually. Here to show us how to put one together is Feed Your Family Tonight founder Mariefiebach, and we call it a meat and cheese tray, but there's a fancy name for it.
Charcuterie is the fancy name for it, and it comes from the curing of meats and talking about cutting meats. That's where charcuterie comes from. And these are so fun to make, and I kind of have a three-step process that kind of helps you make them a little bit extra fancy. The first thing is you want to pick a nice board, and you can use a platter, you can use a wooden cutting board, you can use just about anything that you've got. My sister has even like a chalkboard slate, which is kind of fun. And you want to get one appropriate size to the size of party that you're going to have. And so if you're going to have a really big party, pick a big board. But if it's just a small gathering, pick something smaller. And usually I buy just like a package of meats that are assorted at the grocery store. Most grocery stores you can get, 2 or 3 different kinds of meats in one package. That helps keep costs down and gives you some variety. And I always start by just putting one kind of meat on the board, and that's kind of my base. And then I start adding my cheeses, and I like to put on at least 3 different kinds of cheeses. One that is hard, one that is soft, and one that is a little bit funky. Now today I have a blue cheese, and this blue cheese is kind of my funk, but you could use an herbed cheese or a smoked cheese, just something that's a little unexpected. And then for my soft, I have brie, and I sliced it down the middle so that when it lays on the board, it adds some height. So I've got my 2 cheeses and 1 meat on the board, and then I'm gonna just start building things around it. So I've got some dried fruits. These are some apricots, and you just kind of start filling in the spaces with different condiments. I also have some fig jam, and fig jam, you can buy any kind of jam or you can use some honey, but it's nice to have a sweet component, and I usually put that just in a little bowl on the board, and I'll just set that there. And then we just add nuts and fruits and meats.
What do you put the jam on?
I put the jam on the crackers with a little bit of the cheese, and it adds that sweet and salty and meat. It gives you that perfect bite. You know how salty sweet is a perfect bite?
Sure.
Adding the jam just gives you a perfect bite. And then here's a little fancy trick, is instead of just laying the meats flat, you can fold them into little flowers and tuck them in around so that it fills in your board and it adds height and texture, and it's going to make it look extra beautiful.
So extra. I do have to say, amongst the meats, though, prosciutto is probably a staple on one of these.
Prosciutto, capricola, salami, any kind of preserved Italian meat is going to be amazing. And then what I have over here is I usually like to add a fresh component, and this is 2 different kinds of fresh persimmons. Frank was saying that he gets persimmons on his tree growing up that they can grow locally. These are not grown locally because they're really, really big. And I always like to have some type of a fresh fruit that is a little unexpected. And this persimmons are perfect because you can get them this time of year. You want to make sure that they're really ripe because they can get a little bit bitter, but look how pretty they look. They have that kind of pretty star shape on it, and when you go and you put it on the board, it's just unexpected, and it adds something, and it's also a conversation piece. People will say, well, what is that fruit? And you'll say, well, I have some fresh persimmons. You add nuts and berries, and all of this comes together in just a few minutes, but it really looks beautiful. Now, do you want a mom tip for the snow day?
Yes.
A mom tip for the snow day is you could do a charcuterie board for your kids with lunch meat and cheese sticks and some raisins or other dried fruit or craisins, and put it out on the table, and it's a really fun little snow day thing. So you can do fancy ones or you can do really simple ones, and it's just kind of a fun family thing, and it really looks extra fancy, and you can see that it's not that hard.
Sure. So others are walnuts and pomegranate and all sorts of stuff that are very adventurous.
Right, and you could add olives or pickles. I like to put those in little bowls. This sometimes can be a way where you can, just the little odds and ends that you have around the house, and it's just kind of fun and unexpected, and it looks beautiful, and it's fun for holiday parties.
Can I try a bite of the parsnippity thing?
Persimmon. Parsnippity.
Yeah.
It's a persimmon. Be careful. The outside is a tough skin.
I've just never even heard of it before. Have you, Alice?
I've heard of it. I've never had it. I don't even think I've ever seen one cut up like
It's really
that.
sweet.
They're
So
sweet.
we were talking in the commercial break. These are really having a moment right
Yes,
now
they
on
are.
Instagram. They're just a beautiful thing to just look at. How creative do you need to be to even tackle something like this?
Well, I don't think you need to be creative at all. At the very easiest, you just lay out the already pre-done slices. I mean, you take them straight out of the package and lay them straight on. One tip I might give you is to make sure that you don't put the crackers on the board if you make it ahead. These are best when they're served at room temperature, so I will make them up ahead of time and cover them in plastic wrap, put them in the refrigerator and pull them out. But if you have your crackers on the tray, they can get a little soft and a little stale. I like to serve the crackers in a bowl alongside because the crackers, you want to have them crunchy. But it really doesn't take much effort, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. Look on Instagram for inspiration. There's a local gal at Boards Wichita that makes beautiful boards, and you can get a lot of inspiration from her. And so it's something that it doesn't take much. And again, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
That's right, and it's very tasty.
So if you are interested in a little more information about feeding your family on busy weeknights, check out my cookbook. It's available at Watermark Books and Cafe. If you have a busy parent in your life, it is a great Christmas gift that you can give to help them manage weeknight family dinner, because that's what it's all about. Or check me out on my Facebook group. I'm always there to answer questions, and we'll be talking all things charcuterie this week.
Oh, that's great, and a lot of great recipes too. And if you have family coming in that you need to entertain, there's so many great recipes on feedyourfamilytonight.com. Marie, thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
I'll be right back.